Just a quick introduction. So SGTECH is the Association for the Tech Industry in Singapore. We represent close to 1,000 corporate members. So if you have not one of us, please do come by and join us. And we are the tech solution providers, as well as any business that leverage technology as a core driver in their own business. So it's quite a big family there. So today's session is called Smart Nation again, in conversation and partnering industry to re-engineer government's OS. This is where we're going to discuss how our government has embarked on a journey to re-engineer itself to deliver a more seamless and pleasant digital service experience, both for citizens as well as businesses, and most importantly, the role of industry in building Singapore's smart nation. And this panel discussion this evening is the finale of a 4-part industry webinar series that's jointly organized by SGTECH and the Smart Nation and Digital Government Office, short form SNDGO, as well as GovTech. So this session at the same time also marks the inaugural Smart Nation in Conversation series by SNDGO and the People Association to engage PMETs in policy discussions on Singapore's smart nation development. So without further ado, let me quickly introduce as well our panelists for tonight. First of all, we have Dr. Janil Puthucheary. He's our Senior Minister of State for Ministry of Communications and Information and Ministry of Transport, and he's also the Minister in charge of GovTech. And next we have Mr. Kok Ping Soon. He's the Chief Executive of GovTech. And then we have our own SGTECH Chairman, Mr. Wong Wai Meng. So without further ado, I'd like to first invite our very first speaker, SMS Janil. So SMS Janil will be sharing with us an overview of Singapore's digitalization journey, priorities and challenges, and how they have shaped business models in the current climate. SMS Janil, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. Our Smart Nation and Digital Government Office was set up in 2017 and to take the next set of steps for our Smart Nation initiative. And in doing so, we put out some key policy drivers. We put out a digital government blueprint, national AI strategy, and all of this is really about the digitalization of the public service. But why are we doing this? What is the purpose of digitalizing the public service to such an extent? It's to make the lives of every citizen, every resident of Singapore better. And in order to do that, it's not enough to put out the policy papers. We have to have these very deep and detailed discussions with industry, with our users, with the public who are not yet being served, how we can close all those gaps and put out all the products that we need to, all the services that we need to, and then over time, improve them. The purpose of public service digitalization is also to help our economy, help our economic diversification and transformation plans to create opportunity for business. So we can't do this without active, ongoing, deep engagement with citizens as well as the businesses here in Singapore. But this process, it's not very new. We've started our digitalization actually some time ago, back in the 1980s. Then the focus was on the automation of data and systems and processes. And actually we made quite a lot of progress. By the early 2000s, more than 90% of government services were already online. And then the next bound in the 2010s was about integrating services across agency silos, improving efficiency, making things move faster. But more recently, we've actually had a slightly different focus. We've really understood that one of the key things we have to achieve is to make sure that we have a strong base of engineering talent within the public service. And in doing so, we've been able to think through that technology offering of government in a slightly different way, where we can build out a technology stack and build out a whole series of platforms and essentially re-engineer government and re-engineer the technology that underpins the delivery of government services. And that's been our focus more recently. This has allowed us to achieve quite a lot of things. We've got our national digital identity platform. SingPass Mobile has grown and delivered many different types of services, e-payment platforms, digital wallets, but also secure sensor platforms. We've focused on how we can build products quickly, scale them quickly, and adapt quickly. And that has proven its worth in how we've been able to use technology to respond to COVID-19. Many examples in the daily life as you go around. Some of you will be familiar with a safe entry and how it's a location-based check-in as you go to a restaurant or a hotel or a cafe to check in, to have a logbook of where you've been to. And we've been able to develop that, deploy that, and also subsequently integrate that into products like SingPass Mobile, precisely because of the approach that we had taken towards our technology architecture prior to COVID-19. That's just one example. COVID-19, though, has changed many things in a very short period of time. And around the world, it's accelerated the digitalization journey by necessity. Here in Singapore, no less. And we've had our circuit breaker, during which many of us have had to learn about the joys and trials of working from home and home-based learning happening simultaneously. But our businesses have also had to adapt, to tap on delivery platforms, to use digital services like Corpass and various other things, just to do business, whether they were already digitalized or partially digitalized, or even completely digitalized. They had to extend all of that, develop quite a lot of new capability in order to then maximize their opportunity in those difficult times, in these difficult times that continue. Why were we able to do so? Why did we have a situation where we could do working from home, we could do home-based learning, we could get quite a lot of businesses pivoted to different models to take advantage of these digital spaces in the midst of the circuit breaker and during our COVID-19 response? Well, it's because we've spent years, decades investing in digital infrastructure. We've got our nationwide fiber broadband network. We've got, with which we have broadband penetrations to homes and businesses, which are among the highest in the world. We've got our 4G mobile networks, again, some of the most responsive in the world. This physical infrastructure that we've invested in has been important. We wouldn't have been able to have that type of COVID-19 response if we had not planned so far ahead and made those types of investments ahead of time. But it's not just about the infrastructure, the technology that we've built. It's also about the digital literacy that we have here in Singapore. And we not only have very high smartphone usage, average about 1.5 phones per person, but we have people who are very comfortable doing so, including many of the seniors, whether it's simple things like using WhatsApp for communication, getting their entertainment online. And now increasingly, many have understood and learned about doing digital transactions, including shopping online. So from young to old, we have been far more digitally literate, and that has also continued and accelerated during the COVID-19 process. The government's transactions have also gone digital in a big way. I think now over 90% of our transactions are done digitally. And this has only increased during COVID-19, but we've also come up with new channels which have become very useful in our response, including the gov.sg WhatsApp channel, instantly, rapidly putting information on people's phones where they want to receive it, making sure that there's live updates about what's happening during the crisis. But we've also been able to do this because businesses have come on board. This economic transformation that we talk about has been going on for some time. And COVID-19 has just been the latest call to action for businesses to adapt in order to not just survive, but also thrive. From hawkers who have tried to adapt to the online space, whether it's selling seafood or engaging with delivery companies to bring cooked food to your door, or larger companies which have tried to find ways to adapt their business model and shift their resources to where they're best utilized in this type of environment. The reality is that those companies that had invested heavily in digitalization, invested heavily in their people to have the ability to use digitalization, they have been more resilient during COVID-19, and they're likely to be able to bounce back faster and bounce back better. We hope then to take those lessons and make sure as wide a group of companies across the supply chain, across the entire ecosystem, and across the entire employer base can benefit from those lessons so that we can help their workforce and ultimately their customers as well. We have been encouraging businesses to go digital, and we've had to press on with this. We hope that the lessons learned in COVID and the programs that we've put in place, for example, the digital resilience bonus and various grants to help people both with cash payouts as well as matching with solutions that are out there, will help businesses accelerate that process of transformation, and to do so in a much more comprehensive way, together with trade associations and chambers, to try to understand what is the competitive environment that they are operating in for a given industry. But ultimately, this comes back down, for this webinar at least, to the responsibility of government and what would digital government look like going forward. Indeed, much of our response has had a technology aspect. Technology in the COVID-19 response has always been supporting the real world operational response. It has attracted quite a lot of attention, but it's always matched together with that operational response. And so the use of these digital tools have become very much part of normal operations for many of our partners across public service. And tools such as mask go where, trace together, safe entry, things to do with rapid distribution of resources such as mask go where, or contact tracing where it's an integration with a professional skill. All of these things have only been possible because when the crisis struck, we had these in-house engineering teams at GovTech with that skill in product development to then pivot and put their effort into engineering these types of solutions immediately to meet the needs of Singaporeans. And because we had such talent in-house, we had control over the development process, ensuring that we had safeguards over data protection and cybersecurity, and focus on making sure we could have that speed of response and that security over the product. Some of our products, some of our tools have made a real substantive change to the work of the rest of public sector, including, for example, Trace Together for contact tracing. This was actually a very, very serious and complex effort integrating with the work of the Ministry of Health and other members of the public service who've come forward to participate in contact tracing. So getting our engineering teams together with those ops teams, embedded, working together and iterating to come up with solutions, adding speed and efficiency through technology to face a public health challenge. But as we've done so, of course, we have had to make sure that public trust and the public willingness to engage with these solutions are important. And that means that continually assuring people and demonstrating to people how these tools are trustworthy has been as important as the developmental process. Some of that we've had to do through, for example, hackathons and open sourcing the code, or in some cases demonstrating how the hardware works, allowing people to come and play with it. And over time, there is then that proof of that security and that robustness, which we have to maintain. But we've also been able to attract commercial interest and public interest and commercial interest in some of these tools. And we hope that that is something that we can use as a competitive advantage for businesses that are here in Singapore. Examples would be some of the systems that we've built at entry points, a vigilant gantry, which is a system built by GovTech enhancing thermal scanners using AI algorithms. We've open sourced the algorithm and companies have expressed an interest in it. Another example is perhaps something you may not even be aware of. It's an app we called an app we call Supply Ally, which we used initially to support the mass distribution exercise. And many people didn't even realize that this system was there because they just came along with their identity cards and they noted that it was being scanned by someone's device. But at the back was a very elegantly engineered and robust product that allowed us to make sure that these masks were distributed very, very quickly across a wide space of counters and deal with the issues to make sure that there was security of the process. You didn't allow double dipping and so forth. So it was a very elegant engineering solution. It worked rapidly and quickly. And like the best types of digital government product, it faded into the background so that what came to the foreground was the public good and the service to our citizens. But we've shared the system with nonprofit groups and people are starting to find other ways to use this to do public good. So, well, how does GovTech then respond? COVID-19 has accelerated this demand for tech talent, and we are part of that response. We need strong digital infrastructure. We need strong tech talent within the public sector, and we need problems and challenges that we will solve. Our institutes of education are ramping up the pipeline. The number of ICT graduates is going up, I think, more than three times than the intake 3 years ago, about 2,800 ICT graduates a year. In GovTech itself, we have a staff strength of about 2,600, 2,700, but about 1,000 of them are directly contributing towards the development of critical digital solutions. And of course, the rest of the team doing very important work in terms of the testing, the product iteration, and the deployment to make sure that it works well for the clients, the user base, and ultimately our citizens. But we are still recruiting. I'm not shy about saying that I'm engaged in this seminar partly to encourage people to come and apply to GovTech. We have at least 400 vacancies: software engineers, digital business analysts, cybersecurity specialists, data scientists, AI engineers, infrastructure specialists. It's not just us that are hiring. Across the tech sector in Singapore, the anticipation is that there's going to be jobs created and that there will be plenty of good jobs created coming out of this crisis, and we hope people will take advantage of that. Our colleagues across the public sector in the Ministry of Communication and Information, where I also have a responsibility, drive the Tech Skills Accelerator Initiative, helping people, ICT professionals as well as non-ICT professionals, to upgrade and to pivot into tech roles, sometimes tech light, sometimes tech heavy, sometimes in the tech sector, sometimes in other sectors. But there will be a substantial number of these jobs. We're anticipating at least 5,500 over the next 3 years, about half of which will be for people over the age of 40. So it's not that the stuff that we've been doing for COVID-19 somehow synchronized with what we've been doing for Smart Nation, but it's the fact that we embarked on this Smart Nation journey precisely because we felt that this was about creating capability for resilience and transformation for Singapore. And it just so happened that one of the first major challenges that we were able to demonstrate that response was COVID-19. That approach hasn't changed our priorities. It hasn't changed our need to embrace technology to deliver real, tangible benefits to Singapore and Singaporeans, ultimately increasing our long-term competitiveness. We, however, have had a new understanding of what it will take to be resilient and the potential vulnerabilities that are out there. So the work hasn't stopped, it hasn't completed, I beg your pardon. It's ongoing, and in a way, COVID-19 has given us a space and an impetus to sharpen some of our thinking. We will continue to invest in digitalization, continue to invest ahead in infrastructure, and most importantly, continue to make sure that we invest in our people to take advantage of these opportunities that will be created. But we will need new ideas and to test the boundaries. We will do so. We will come up with new opportunities to deploy our talent and our skills. Examples include the Punggol Digital District, an integration of a business park and a new campus for the Singapore Institute of Technology, an open digital platform for the sharing of anonymized data with sensor networks, how we can attract researchers and businesses to pilot and test their ideas iteratively here in the real world, our national AI strategy with projects in education and health. All of these are things that we will go forward, not just on the response to COVID-19. These will create jobs, fuel our economy, and provide us with a national, strong competitive advantage. But ultimately, in order to do this, we have to continue to play our role as a trusted partner internationally. We've capitalized on this. We've historically on the basis of our location, over time on the basis of our strength in services, intellectual property protection, and now in this iteration on the basis of data and technology. So maintaining our capability, but also that posture of openness to ideas, technology, and talent, and how we develop our people using that openness is going to be very, very important. So I'm looking forward to your questions. I will stop there and hand over back to my colleagues on the panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you, SMS Janil, for your sharing on the overview. And next, we'd like to invite Chief Executive of GovTech, Kok Ping Soon, to share on how our government will be accelerating its digitalization plans by re-engineering the government's operating system. And we talk about how GovTech is modernizing the back end, humanizing the front end, and engaging the wider ecosystem as well as the community. Ping Soon, please.
Hello. Hi. I hope everybody can hear and see me. The last I checked, we have about 600 over people that's called in. So first of all, a big thank you for everyone for joining us this evening. I certainly wish I can see all of you in person, but I suppose this is a reflection of how life has changed for all of us in COVID. But I think the fact that we're having this is sort of a testimony to, I think, all our adaptability to carry on with important business despite the situation. This re-engineering the government OS, I think, is a theme for our annual industry briefing. And actually, it is a continuation. It's a continuation of our multi-year plan to build a digital government, which we first laid out in June 2018 under the Digital Government Blueprint, where we commit ourselves to build a digital government that is digital to the core and yet served with heart. And then in October 18, we followed through our promise to be digital to the core at our inaugural developer conference called STECH, where PM himself announced our cloud-first strategy and also introduced the SGTECH stack, which is a multi-tiered digital backbone that kind of abstract away the complexity for developing applications and inject greater reusability and interoperability across our systems. Then at last year's industry briefing, which I hope many of you had joined us that time, I introduced the new GovTech mission of engineering digital government, making lives better, as well as our three key strategies. We call it build for scale, deliver as one, and live as digital native. This is part of our effort to transform GovTech to be in a better position to build a digital government. And then we wanted to build on the momentum to hold our second stack in March, but well, as you all know, COVID got in the way. So we had to postpone this to year end, which we hope we can still carry on. But I think the fact that although we canceled the stack, it did not stop us from engaging developers. We held many StackX thematic events, some of it through webinars, covering a range of topics from engineering practices to design thinking, as well as did many product sharing. So just now, SMS has spoken about how our investments in technology has enabled us to respond more swiftly with technology solutions to support COVID. So what we want to do is to what we call double down, right? Double down in digitalization by kind of re-engineering the government operating system. So I've chosen to use this metaphor of the operating system to really describe our efforts, because what we are doing is indeed quite a fundamental overhaul. And this re-engineering of the government OS actually has two parts. One is about modernizing the kernel of the OS, which refers to the backend of the government core system, comprising our application systems and our infrastructure. Two is about humanizing the front-end user space. This is the part of the OS where the users interact with the system, and it's equivalent to the digital shopfront of the government where you as citizens and business will interact with us, right, for information and services. Now, as all you all appreciate, since you're all members of SGTECH, of SGTech, that in the computer industry, an upgrade of an OS is a big deal, right? So in the government, if you can do this well, it will significantly change the game in the way government operates, as well as serve the public digitally. And there are three key thrusts here in our efforts to modernize our backend. One, we'll increase the number of systems on the government commercial cloud. Over 110 systems have already been migrated to GCC since we announced the cloud-first strategy in October 2018. This year, we will double the number of systems on GCC as we re-platform the existing systems and build new application systems. Over 870 million of contracts are projected to be awarded. For example, MOM will be developing a new digital platform that will enable them to synergize different information into a single system. Two, we will increase the use of data analytics, AI, and sensors to deliver better government services. Now, I think some of you would have seen a few of these autonomous robots at work during COVID. For example, we had this four-legged dog called Spot that we trialed at Bishan Park to help with safe distancing. PUB will be doing more with their OR3 robot, and SPF is also looking to scale up their use of their Mata robot. Yeah, and PUB will also be applying smart water meters to kind of promote water conservation by sending out automated notifications of high water usage, as well as potential water leaks to residents and businesses. Three, to support the increased use of cloud services and the demand for more processing capability, we will upgrade. We'll upgrade our government infrastructure. We'll spend about 300 million to design, implement, and operate a new software-defined government network to provide cost-effective and reliable connectivity to government agencies. We're also putting out a tender to build a next-generation government and cybersecurity operations center. And this will strengthen our cybersecurity posture with automated system reviews, cybersecurity monitoring, and digital forensics capabilities. Modernizing this backend will allow us to more effectively humanize our front end. We're increasingly taking a user-centered approach in designing and developing our applications, wrapping our services around the needs of the user at different moments of their life, rather than around the convenience of how we organize ourselves in ministries and agencies. We will introduce more SingPass-enabled digital services. We currently have about 1.5 million users on SingPass Mobile. 1 in 3 SingPass transactions are actually completed through SingPass Mobile. And I hope many of you are now using SingPass Mobile for safe entry check-in. Yeah? No need to present your IC, no need to scan QR. Just open up your SingPass Mobile app, select the venue from a drop-down menu, and check in. It's as simple as that. And now you can actually do group check-in as well. So you don't need to check in individually. Your whole family can check in one click as well. Yeah. So SingPass, I think, slowly but surely is evolving. It's evolving into truly a national digital identity that allows citizens to unlock more services. And not just government, but also private sector services. Today, SingPass users can already use SingPass to sign in over 300 government services, but also over 30 private sector services, including logging into NTUC Income to check your insurance policy, or logging into OCBC banking services. And we'll soon provide more ways to verify your identity. For example, the use of facial biometrics for login, and also using SingPass for digital signing of hiring contracts with banks that require a higher level of assurance. We are also doing more on the moments of life. We started with a focus on meeting the needs of young parents. We move on to serve the active ages. And more recently, we introduced services to support the retrenched workers and job seekers, which is very germane at this point in time. Retrenched individuals and job seekers can now use the MOL to search for job opportunities, access customized services from career coaches, know their benefits, and also find a listing of government agencies' schemes that can help them tide over the difficult situation. And soon, we will take a major step. We'll evolve these moments of life into a truly go-to app for all things related to the government in a citizen's life in SG. It will be human-centered, it will be service journey-based, and it will be personalized. But I won't say more, so watch the space. Now, humanizing this front end is not just about these 2 national platforms we have, the SingPass as well as MOL. Over 118 million of contracts are dedicated to develop better citizen and business-facing applications. For example, IRAS is revamping their Inland Revenue Interactive Network System called IRENE, which will improve the experience of taxpayers in dealing with property, income, individual income, and GST matters. Even our Singapore Examination and Assessment Board will be developing a next generation of e-exam system that will enable end-to-end conduct of e-exams for all schools. But we can't re-engineer the government operating system on our own. Yes, as SMS have said, we have built up our internal engineering capabilities in GovTech, but really, given the scale of our ambition, we need to strengthen our partnership with the community. And we have done so with the developer community. In May, we conducted a COVID-19 idea sprint that had over 300 participants contributing ideas and building prototypes for COVID-19 problem statement, which actually SMS and myself have the pleasure to participate in the final pitching session. We received over 70 submissions with ideas ranging from designing wearables for contact tracing to developing personal risk score based on proximity data. So to strengthen our engagement, we have set up a new developer portal. This is a centralized resource to help industry and developers learn, first of all, more about our tech products. Developers will be able to find key information on product features, use cases, as well as technical specifications to either develop on our solutions or to develop from our solution to help commercial companies, or develop and co-develop with us. And over time, more features will be added, right, to allow developers to actually offer their services on the portal, and this portal will serve as a gateway for the government developers environment. And in total, we will award over 3.5 billion of contracts in this FY to support our plans to re-engineer the government OS. This is a 30% increase from the FY 2019 projected spend. And SMEs will be eligible to participate in 80% of these procurement opportunities. And to help more companies participate in government ICT contracts, we have made improvements. We have improved the procurement process. We are now starting to do more outcome-based procurement through the call for solution process. So instead of just meeting the government specification, tenderers can now propose solutions based on their ability to achieve the agency's desired outcome. And these proposals that are being shortlisted and then the contracts that are awarded, they can potentially move through the stages of the project, from proof of concept to pilot and then to deployment without any additional tender exercises. Over 20 challenges from 12 agencies have been awarded through this approach. And in this financial year, 10 more of these opportunities will be made available. For example, MOM will be calling for solutions related to the prevention of slip, fall, and trips in facilities management sector. We're also doing more for bulk tender this year. Last year, we awarded 3 bulk tenders amounting to about 750 million. This year, we plan to award 7 bulk tenders with an estimated procurement value of about 1.2 billion, covering agile, data science, user experience design, cybersecurity, and audit services. Now, I know COVID-19 is a difficult period. It's a difficult period for all of us, including our partners. And on our end, we have worked with agencies to take a more sympathetic approach to our partners working on existing projects. Agencies can grant extension of time for the project milestones and delivery timelines to be extended. It's also possible for our agencies to waive any contractual rights on a goodwill basis, change the requirements for service level and the scope of delivery of projects with their suppliers by reviewing the contractual obligations during these periods. And agencies are also allowed to even consider making advance payment based on future payment milestones to support their suppliers in managing the cash flow. But at the same time, difficult as it may be, I think COVID has also presented us many new possibilities. SMS has alluded to many of them. Companies that did not imagine remote work was possible are now operating with majority of their workers telecommute. Everyone, including our seniors, are now experts in conducting meetings via Zoom, WebEx, and Skype. And as you can see from the screen, a recent McKinsey study said that we have leaped 5 years forward in consumer and business digital adoption in a matter of 8 weeks. So we should not waste these digitalization gains. Hence, the re-engineering of the government OS by modernizing the backend, humanizing the front end, and stepping up engagement of our community is our response. It's our response to lock in the gains of digitalization and accelerate the increase in the digital maturity of our government. And I certainly look forward to your support and working hand in hand with you to create better services for the citizens and the businesses. Thank you. Over to you, Shihao.
Yeah, thank you, Ping Soon, for a very exciting sharing for the various applications that are now pretty much part of our everyday life. And next, we'd like to have our SGTECH chairman, Mr. Wong Wai Meng, to share with us about the industry role in this smart nation journey and how companies can contribute to bringing Singapore out of the recession. Wai Meng, please.
Thank you, Shihao. Before I start, I would like to thank SMS Janil and Ping Soon for taking time out this evening to be with us. And of course, all of you who has joined us, who's joining us tonight and have joined us for the past 3 of our webinar series. So a very good evening and welcome. So after hearing from Minister and Ping Soon about the government's approach, I want to speak briefly about the role that the tech industry and what SGTECH and how SGTECH can play. First of all, I must applaud the approach that our government is taking to projects with the industry, as this will leverage the collective wisdom of many parties. And because industry players have varied experiences, perspectives, solutions for problem statements, and in the process, we leverage the diversity of ideas and how we pull together the pieces of the puzzles that may already in place and to deliver better solutions to benefit Singaporeans quicker. So the 3 webinars that we have co-organized in the past month generated very healthy interest and a lot of excitement amongst the tech industry. Right? But many companies are eager to participate in the projects, the initiative mentioned in all these sessions. I'm sure tonight's sessions too. Very exciting projects that what Ping Soon has shared. And in fact, after the first webinar, just on the citizen-centric projects, a majority of the participants feel that the industry can contribute much more to these projects. Then there are open questions on the collaboration opportunities, such as, how best for companies to engage SNDGO and GovTech. what are the specific projects and how will they find out about them? How do firms suggest new national AI projects? All the questions are all the how, what, where, and when questions that we get from the participants. And this is where I see SGTECH can really play a role to bridge the industry and the government in the whole co-creation process. Now, we also did a dipstick survey in late May this year. 88% of our tech SMEs has seen a reduction in revenue, and while 90% reported a decline in their sales pipeline. Now, business is really slowing down even for the tech industry, and the outlook is not as bright as you view, when you view the industry as a totality as a whole. Right? But despite all the uncertainty on the horizon, we really take heart that the government is technology, through all the exciting projects, opportunities that we are sharing in the webinar series, plus, and especially tonight, what Ping Soon has shared. And among this, really the projects that are awarded to the industry will translate to revenue for tech companies, and who can continue to really hire their employees, and in particular for our SMEs, right, our tech SMEs, they really need work to survive. So more importantly, when our tech companies get to lead or co-create some of these projects, and in this project, it really allows them to extract the full economic value of the innovation. Our companies can then take the knowledge and our IPs develop, to other commercial solutions, export them overseas, and that will really generate greater returns for the Singapore economy. Right? So the credentials, references that our companies gain from participating in all these government projects will definitely benefit them when they compete in overseas markets. So therefore, the more projects that can be led, co-created with the industry, the better. Ideally, we hope to see projects to be industry-led or co-created. And uniquely Singapore, we are very fortunate that our government has taken the leadership to invest in and build a strong foundation, right? With standardized frameworks, applications, infrastructure, our smart nation. However, the government has been doing all the heavy lifting, and we strongly believe that we can do much more together, do much more faster, and be smarter if we really can rally and engage the whole industry in our journey forward together. So, and some SGTECH members tell us that they are using the slowdown to beef up the solutions, improve their processes, we look in the infrastructure, upskill their teams, and indeed this may be a good time to really strengthen our organizations, and we encourage all companies to take this chance to look inward as well. So with government ICT projects as well as private sector and other projects, we are cautiously optimistic that our tech companies can stay afloat while at the same time enhancing the solutions and hunting for new opportunities in preparation to capture the upside in a recovery. And we believe with a strong and close government, industry, public-private partnership, we can do it together, faster, better, and make ourselves smarter. So I'm really keen to see how we can scale up what we see today as the GovOS to eventually SGOS together. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Chairman. And so now we're going to have a Q&A time, and I can see quite a few of you have already given some questions. If not, please do rush in because we do have a limited time. So let me start with the very first question. But before that, let's invite all our panelists back into our view so we can see all of you. And so let me read out the first question. In order to move into a smart nation, how are we going to equip people? What are the training opportunities? So this question, perhaps our SMS, Janil, would you like to share with us?
Thanks. There's no single answer to this. You have to start with the use of technology as part of a fundamental part of education, increase the pipeline of specific tech-related higher education courses, create opportunities for adults to retrain and relearn over the course of their career. And some of those need to be done with the education institutions, and some of them need to be done together with the companies, company-led training, place and train type schemes. You need all of these things. There is no single way to do this. but I think there are ways not to do it. You know, I think we shouldn't be tepid about it and be half-hearted about it. We've got to really apply ourselves to this in a very significant way. And I think we shouldn't underestimate the ability of even older Singaporeans to be able to take on this training and to be able to find meaningful employment through this training. For the use of these tools across the public sector, you need a slightly different type of training for public sector officials. And that is part of the work that GovTech and the SNDGGO is also taking on. Because, you know, we can develop all the best tools, but if people across government don't know how to extract the best value from them, don't know how to best deploy them, that's not the best use of their time either. So it's training on all of those levels. Including for us in political office holders, we also need to be digitally trained and, you know, and keep ourselves up to speed.
Sure. Thanks, Minister Janil. Perhaps Ping Soon, would you like to share some about this as well?
Yeah, I think as SMS said that this there's certainly lots of job opportunity, but I think at the same time there is indeed a kind of skills mismatch. You know, so I'll share some numbers. You know, recently we did a series of tech hunt. SMS Janil referred to it just now. We were happy 400 over vacancies. So we did 5 tech hunts and we received over 1,700 applications. We reviewed them. We thought about, you know, about 600 of them are applications we want to review more closely, and we went through them. We conducted over 400 over interviews. In the end, we made offers about 40 to 50. You know, partly because I think there are many. There's a great desire of people want to join the sector, but I think there's a kind of a skills mismatch. So I think this is something that we're also working with our partner agencies to see what we can do to ramp up, you know, some of this professional conversion program. And even the public sector, we are trying to also come into this. You know, we're also putting in place many different traineeship programs, not just for the fresh grads, but potentially for mid-careers as well, to provide that opportunity for them to be exposed to this and pick up new skills, and then they can join. But this is something that has to be done in partnership with the private sector too, as well as our training partners. Yeah.
Thanks, Kok Ping. Chairman Wai Meng, would you like to share some about this?
Well, I think Minister and Ping Soon answered it very well. I mean, personally, looking at my own enterprise, and I'm seeing also, you know, there's lots of program that the government has rolled out in the packages, and I really think all the companies should really jump on it and leverage the programs to really, you know, train up, reskill, and upskill their workers. Right, this is a great opportunity. I would say, you know, we seldom have this chance in the IT industry. We are always running so fast. There's never chance and time to really take our engineers and our technical people out for proper training. We should really take this opportunity to leverage. And on top of it, we also, you know, we are also trying and working with WSG and you know, the government to roll out many programs like professional conversion program, PCP. That is really, you know, and we are working with other trade associations. Right? Are they, you know, in the course of automation and digitalization, will they have any workforce that could be displaced? Let's forecast it ahead of time. Can we run a PCP program and convert some of this into, you know, for use for the tech industry to really support the tech industry in our growth?
Great, thanks, Wai Meng. And here's our next question. It starts with, I'm happy to see government is moving to digitalize the nation. However, I'm unsure if Singapore companies are encouraged to help contribute. I see that there might be some level of interest in international companies. Well, we have Zoom example. Also with GovTech development, however, I don't see a true local private-public partnership. What is truly being done with private enterprises? A very challenging pointed question. So Minister would like to respond to that.
Sure. I assume that I'm invited on these to deal with these pointed challenging questions, but let me reassure the person asking that we agree, and our whole approach is to help to develop businesses and to use the best possible relationships with business in order to achieve our solutions. Surely during this crisis, everybody is interested in our sort of crisis response, but that's not how we usually operate. Usually when we operate, we do so with a view to bringing in the private sector very early on into the process so that they are part of the conceptualization, the design, the build, and ultimately then on the operate. And that includes, for example, having people from vendors and manufacturers do pair programming together with our GovTech engineers, literally sitting next to our GovTech engineers as products are being developed. And that relationship carries on long after the product is mature in terms of how our GovTech engineers deployed across the user base engages with the private sector. So, and there are plenty of good examples out there. I don't know if I'm allowed to name the various companies. I mean, it becomes a little bit of advertising, but they are there. That includes international companies for sure, because we do want to make sure that Singapore and Singaporeans have access to the best possible tech and best possible thinking around tech out there. But plenty of our companies here in Singapore have stepped up to the mark, and we have a number of products and platforms and services that that they have helped to build. Part of our approach is what Ping Soon alluded to earlier on, and I'm sure he'll be happy to speak about this again, is that we engage with the businesses here in Singapore about this, not just around a specific product or a specific procurement process or tendering process. We engage them constantly in terms of demonstrating what our government tech stack and our platforms and our government OS in inverted commas is, so that they can then think, how might they develop their own products on top of that, independently of what we are asking, as well as to service the needs that are directly coming from the public sector. So the short answer, the TLDR version is, yes, I agree with you, and I hope we're doing it. We should do more.
Maybe I add on to SMS point, just 3 quick points. One, the truth of the matter is that when I look at the number of contracts that went to SMEs last year, 70% of our contracts went to SMEs. Right, so I think we're doing a big part to help that, and we're working with IMDA on that. IMDA has a certified accredited scheme of companies, which helps them put on a green lane, and we actively engage these companies because they have been pre-qualified by IMDA to be providing government services. So we do that quite aggressively, right? Number 2, I wanted to address one of the related questions which I saw in the chat, was this thing about, oh, it seems that GovTech is doing everything in-house because we built up this pool of engineering capability, we are recruiting, and it seems to be doing everything. I need to state on record that there's no way, there's just no way, and nor is our intention to in-source everything, right? Our intention is not to do that. There will be some amount of in-source projects which we think are critical, or we want to jumpstart it, or to build certain platform. But there's going to continue to be a large part of government projects that will be totally outsourced. And we are also starting to do some of these outsourcing on a co-sourcing basis, which SMS talk about, where we do pair programming. So there'll be lots of opportunity. But I do need to state that the way we are going to structure our contracts to even work with outsourced vendor has to change, because we are re-engineering our government OS, because we are modernizing the way we do things, right? I think we are increasingly not wanting to develop monolithic standalone application. We want to have more and more government services developed on a common backbone, so that it's reusable, so that it's interoperable, so that data can be shared, so that we don't have to keep reinventing the same functionalities in new systems. So that means what? That means that in future, for vendors and companies who wants to develop systems for government, even on totally outsourced, they have to be familiar with the SGTECH stack. They have to understand our hosting environment that we set up in a government commercial cloud. They have to understand what we do for our middleware layer. What are the reusable services? And in fact, because we have started to work on the tech stack, many of these contracts doesn't need to be a few $100 million projects anymore, because I don't need to give the full contract to start building from the matter rack, the server, the hosting. They don't need to. They can leverage on common components. And therefore, contracts can start to be smaller, and I can work with more smaller innovative companies to build new services on top of it on a microservices basis. So there will continue to be outsourced opportunity, but the nature of the contracts will be smaller. And my third point is, I think this question was asked, I was looking through the chat, there was by this gentleman called Chuan Pin, because I think when Shiha was talking about the question, there was one part that he specifically said, he said he doesn't see safe entry properly integrated with the visitor management system. So I'd like to inform you that we know that. I'd have to beg forgiveness in a way, because when we started to do this, we had to rush to quickly stand up a national check-in system, right? So you've got to make sure that everything is robust, but we are actively working, to put in place the right APIs as well as the right user agreement to allow companies to start integrating their VMS, visitor management system, with safe entry. So watch the space. We are working on it, and that is another example of how we extend some of the national platform to help companies.
Thanks, Ping Soon. In fact, I think there is a very nice follow-on question. So it's good. Would the government agencies consider adopting local first concept? Okay, when it comes to awarding ICT contracts during these difficult periods, local first doesn't mean local everything, right? Local first could just mean giving some advantages to our local SME, our local tech firms. So what do y'all think about that?
A difficult question should be handled by SMS. So.
Sure. No, look, the first thing is we have to make sure that we are getting a quality product and service, because when we are tendering, it's on behalf of Singapore and Singaporeans. But actually, local companies already have an advantage, and we are not shy about that. The advantage is, as Ping Soon has described, if you are here in Singapore, you engage with GovTech on a regular basis, you come to our developers conferences, you hire some of our engineers. I mean, I please don't hire too many, but we understand that those that leave us, we would like for them to get good jobs, and maybe one day we might hire them back. Those are all advantages to local companies, and that helps them be competitive at delivering products for government and for Singaporeans. So, but I think we don't want to remove the possibility of having the best types of products and services from around the world deployed here. Ultimately, that's going to be best for our economy and for the businesses here as well. That if you have something really that is it's a killer app developed Silicon Valley or anywhere else in the world, I think we should make sure that Singaporeans benefit from that. The reality is that our companies also compete globally and also compete internationally. There is really a very small slice which are truly only servicing the Singaporean market. Most of our tech companies are working across borders as well. So we want to make sure that they are also treated well and given every opportunity around the world. So I think a fair approach is to make sure we talk about quality, cybersecurity, talent, and design as the primary issues. But I think more than enough Singaporean companies are able to meet that mark.
So just wondering, Wai Meng, would you like to share some from industry perspective on this?
Yeah, I mean, being in SGTECH and in the know, we are very close to GovTech, IMDA, SNDGO. So we know a lot of opportunities, but it keeps coming up that a lot of our members still ask the question of why we get more engaged, right? Early in the process. And maybe to add on a little bit about a lot of SMEs are already being included in government projects. I think when the SME definition gets smaller, on the startup, especially our startup members, we have about 200 to 300 startup members, I believe, in our 1,000 representation. They really struggle a lot, right? So because the solution is not proven, and some of them really have fantastic and great creativity and ideas and innovations. So they find a lot of problem trying to engage with government procurement and such. So I know SMS mentioned that we have to be competitive on a global scale, on a global basis, in a regional basis. Our SME and startup needs to learn how to fight. But sometimes, is there any way to bring them on early? And if they really have some great skills, innovative idea, great solution, how do we give them an opportunity? Probably not in the procurement process, but something to handhold them and build up their strength to the point that they can participate properly in a project by the government.
Yep, thanks Wai Meng. And well, time is catching up, but I think we'll take just one last question and it kind of shift the gear a little bit as well. So question 4 is the speakers have focused on the role of government and industry. What about regular citizens? Is there a role for them in the Smart Nation push? Is there enough incentive for citizens to be co-creators in this journey? So SMS or...
Yeah, I'm just going to jump in before you all even think about how to shoot the arrow. Look, it's the false dichotomy. It's not government or citizens. It's both. All our products are developed by both. The reason why government develops a given product is because a need is established either by public service on behalf of the citizens they service, or by citizens themselves telling us this is what needs to be done. This is how I want to have my transactions done. This is how I want my service provided. And in the development process, we go out to engage with citizens very, very early on. not pre-beta. We just have a concept and we take a roadshow out there and we ask people, how might you interact with a product like this? So, and it's not that there's any shortage of people who are willing to come forward and tell us, no, I want the homepage design like this, I want a product design like this. People are doing so constantly. And for that, we are grateful, because that's what makes our products better. On the other end, there are things which citizens design right from the ground up. And we partner with a wide variety of organizations to, like hackathons and other types of efforts where people come and they pitch ideas, they build products. Now, then the role is almost slightly reversed. You have a group of young people with a great idea. They start the first level of code and have a proof of concept. Then it needs to get deployed and have some effective operations. And that's where we can play a role to then find a user base out there in public sector and say, look, here's a great idea. Can you take it forward? And we've done this repeatedly. So it's on both sides I beg your pardon, it's coming from both directions. But I want to get away from this idea that it is either the government developing or is the private sector. It's either, and it's not either the government or citizens. The government, private sector businesses, and our citizens have been in this together from the start and going forward every step of the way. And that's how it should be.
Thank you. Thank you.
Maybe I'll just add on to SMS voice. So certainly, I mean, my whole theme about the re-engineering government as one part is humanizing the shop front, right? I mean, how can I humanize it without the inputs of the very citizens in which we are designing these services? So all I can say is that concretely, I think there are two kind of platforms that are available, and we'll welcome the participants reaching out to us. One, of course, join us as our tech khakis. The tech khakis is a community we've built up. Well, we try to serve coffee virtually now, but the tech khakis are a group of people we reach out to very often to help us journey with us. I talk a lot about using service journey as a method for us to design new services and all that. In fact, the new moments of life module I talk about that we introduced recently for retrenched workers and all that, it was designed with a group of unemployed PMETs, who share with us their very pain points or how they go about doing job search and all that. So we put them in a focus group, and then we kind of walk through with them both the emotional state as well as the functional need to solve certain things, and we kind of design that. So get in touch with us through Tech Khakis. We'll be happy to take in your inputs, and then be our service journey champion, for some of these phases in their life. So that's one part. The second one is through our Smart Nation ambassadors. We have a very active, I think about 4,000 Smart Nation ambassadors. Sign up as one of the Smart Nation ambassadors to help us to promote the use of digital products among some of our digitally excluded population. Or many of you are corporate members. I welcome companies signing up as our Smart Nation ambassador as a corporate basis, as a corporate entity. So some companies, I shan't name some, actually sign on as a corporate partner. So as a corporate partner, then you help us mobilize your volunteers on certain events that we have and help to promote greater digital inclusivity in our population. So there are concrete platforms and opportunities for citizens and companies to work with us, and not just be our suppliers, but be our citizens as well as corporate partners on the Smart Nation ambassadors.
Yeah. Thanks, Ping Soon. Wai Meng, so does SGTECH also can offer some area in this?
Yeah, definitely. We have so many programs that engages the members and the industry. For example, our Tech for Community that we run once a year, tens of thousands of participants. We really use the member companies and all the employees to really reach out. We run different teams every different year, and some of them are digital inclusiveness to really reach out, to people struggling with really digital adoption and such. And I think we need to scale up. Like what SMS mentioned, on average, Singapore has 1.5 mobile phone per year now. So I believe mobile adoption is there to a good degree. I think the next step is really how do we engage the digital, part of how do we skill up our citizens. It's not just about skilling up our workforce, right? How do we increase the digital savviness of, bigger, wider community, right? Like the laptop programs for school students, all this that's reaching out to everyone. That's a fantastic program to be inclusive. The industry is doing a lot. We're putting money on the table. A lot of our members are really contributing. I think hand in hand with the government, GovTech, Smart Nation, SNDGO, and together IMDA, we can do a lot more.
Thank you. Chairman. And so we'd like to have a closing remarks. I know there are many questions that have been posted, so not to worry. We will be collating all these questions, circulate to the panelists, and for them to respond to you. We also have your email since you registered with us. So let's have a closing remark. I'd like to invite SMS Janil again to share with us.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for your questions. Smart Nation is always going to be a work in progress. By definition, this work will never be done. We have to keep our eye on the key outcomes as we go forward, which is that we must continue to invest in our people, talent within the public sector, engineering core, and digital literacy and comfort with technology in the wider public. And secondly, the transformation of our economic opportunity through the use of technology. As long as we keep doing those two things, even though the work is never done, we'll keep moving in the right direction. Thank you very much.
Thank you. How about Ping Soon?
Nothing much more to add. I always say is that this COVID period is clearly a very defining challenge for us. Right? It's a test for us in so many dimensions. And when I have my engagement talks with my own GovTechies, I always remind them that last year when we said our mission was engineering digital government, making lives better. Actually, now we are not just making lives better, we're making lives safer, right? So I think that the whole purpose of our cause is, I think, is the right cause. But we cannot build this digital government on our own. So I really want to reach out to our friends and partners out here to help us build a better digital government so that we can better serve our citizens and businesses. Yeah, that's all from me.
Thank you. Wai Meng, please.
Like I say, the government shouldn't have to do all the heavy lifting, and they are not. You can see they are really reaching out with lots of programs, engagement, individuals, citizens, companies. If you don't know where to go, come to SGTECH. And collectively, we believe a strong government-industry partnership. We are confident that we can do everything much faster, better, and really be smarter. So in a nutshell, we want to help, we can help. We need your help too. Together we can build, and I wish we can build SGOS together. Thank you. Good night. Back to you, Shiha.
Yep. Thank you, Wai Meng. And for everyone out there, if you have any more further questions, be it some feedback you would have, so you can see some email addresses there. So either direct straight away to GovTech, you can send over to SGTECH as well. Or if you have money related question, procurement, there's also a very special email address you can send to. So with that, we thank you again for joining us. And as our Prime Minister Lee said during the launch of our Smart Nation initiative in 2014, he said, let's make this happen together. So of course, welcome you to join, to share with us your feedback as well. So please do fill out this survey as you go. So with that, thank you again and see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye. Good night.